TikTok, time to rock. Good evening. Hey, next Zucker Nike. You see this guy just provoking me out? And we interrupted the intro. Why? Because he's a slimy little Mike Wingling. What the heck is wrong with this guy? Anyway, totally ruined the show. I might as well just cancel it. People starting off with their rude insults. Hang on, why is this? Oops, there we go. Hey, you guys hear me?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, there we go. Hey, what's up, everyone? We got, you guys just heard this entire show's ruined with insults. People have no manners.
Yeah, what's up with this guy?
Well,
he was calling Mike Winger and stuff, and like,
yeah, and he wants to be the next Zucker Nike, and he just like tosses insults at everyone, calls everyone nerd. It's pretty rude. Let's see. With Jai and DOC, glory to God. Yeah, we got Jai and DOC here with us, ladies and gentlemen. They've got some, they said they've got, they messaged me and said they've got some funny stuff with our good friend Sheikh Yasser Qadhi, and that's some of my favorite stuff. Watching a guy who's super intelligent try to defend some of the silliest, weirdest things and getting himself into trouble all the way. Now, some of you atheists are going, but that's how Christians sound to us when they defend. We're not talking about defending the existence of God or something like that. We're talking like Yasser Qadhi when he had to defend Gog and Magog and the billions of people who were supposedly trapped behind a wall since the time of Alexander the Great. And he suggests that it's actually hordes of zombies, billions of them, that are trapped behind a wall somewhere in the world, and they're going to come out or something like that. And anyway, the guy tries to get in trouble when he uses his great big brain to try and defend stuff and ends up with really dumb stuff. But now we're talking about a variety of teachings in Islam, about babies, procreation, all these kinds of things. And this is something that used to come up for me a lot because, if you go back 15 years, this was one of their main arguments for Islam. Their main arguments were the miraculous, perfect preservation of the Quran. Fortunately, they've abandoned that. And the scientific miracles that became extremely popular in the 1970s and then really took off in the 1980s. And fortunately now the Dawah guys have abandoned it because, like all their other arguments, it's based on lies. But it still is fun to examine because Muhammad was quite frequently claiming to get information about human reproduction from the same source that he was getting the Quran from. And so if this is some weird, silly stuff, then Muslims got some problems because Muhammad's getting this info from the same source he's getting the rest of the Quran from. So anyway, Jai and DOC, what are you guys, before we jump in there, you want to introduce yourselves and tell people what we'll be talking about?
All right. Yes, we are Jai and DOC. DOC stands for Daughter of Christ. If you guys have seen
and Department of Corrections.
And Department of Corrections.
I know that one well.
I'm the Department of Corrections. Mm-hmm. I love to do that.
That could be your nickname when you're correcting somebody. It's like, hey, welcome to the Department of Corrections because I have to correct you on this.
I heard it was a rapper name too. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the DOC. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The DOC?
Yeah, so that's me.
Yeah.
So we've seen Yasser Qadhi try to defend some of the Allah's biology that's just upside down, inside out. And he uses the word problematic a lot. So that'll be fun.
It's really fun. Listening to Yasser Qadhi defend Islam is hilarious.
Love Yasser Qadhi. It is tragic, though, that wasn't that Yasser Qadhi's school where one of their instructors just got nabbed for child something.
Yeah, child something.
Well, weird. I don't know what sets off things on YouTube anymore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We just had
they child restrict things if the algorithm picks up certain words in what you're saying.
Yeah, we were playing a video of like Ali Dawah and like FouseyTube, and they said something that apparently like when it's age restricted. So we were just playing a video and they age restricted it. But anyway, so I don't know what sets them off either. But Yeah, so Yasser Qadhi was like a lecturer there for, or like a dean or something like that for like over 10 years or something like that. It was in Texas institution, and that's where that I think that's where he's from, or that's where he used to live at least.
Hey, you gotta
And
watch out for those Texas guys. No, I mean
yeah,
the Muslim cowboy, defender of child marriage. That's a Texas guy.
Penny Bowman.
Yusuf Estes, who said that he said that Muhammad and Aisha is a greater love story than Romeo and Juliet.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
wow.
So you got some really creepy dudes all down in Texas. And here's the weird part: these guys are all defending child marriage, and then one of them gets nabbed for wanting to make for having videos of a girl made, and everyone shocked. I said, these guys are
Yeah,
telling you they believe that's fine, and then they do it. And
exactly.
you're, what? We didn't think they were actually going to do it.
Yeah, and so Muslim Cowboy actually was associated with this guy as well, Wissam Sharif, and he basically said, like, this is basically his catchphrase, like, what makes a Texan convert to Islam? And that's like his thing. So he did a bunch of videos with this guy Wissam,
Bad
and
kids.
yeah, yeah, and like he tried to scrub the internet of like all the videos he did with them because he did so many, and uh, and so anyway, so we ended up finding one that was still on. It was still on TikTok, so we played it in one of the streams that we did
Yeah.
on it just to
And we
show.
saved it
Yeah,
for
because
posterity.
this guy, like you said, they're all defending child marriage, and then yeah, shocker. One of their, their Dawa guys, a very popular guy. He has like millions of views on YouTube teaching people how to recite the Quran. The article said he had over 25,000 students teaching them the Quran, recital of the Quran, etc., retention of the Quran. And shocker, he gets arrested or charged with, child something.
Wow. Wow. Shocker. And here's the problem. It's like you have all these people in the West when we're pointing out what Islam teaches and what the Dawah guys are defending. And in people's minds, it just seems to be, well, okay, so maybe Ali Dawah and all these other guys are saying they want to kill apostates, but yeah, they're not gonna really do it. No, they actually want to do this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. It's the same thing. When you see them defending child marriage and all this other stuff, you think, but there are laws in place, and so they still find ways to do stuff, and it's super creepy. The point is, beliefs matter, ladies and gentlemen. Beliefs matter. And some people think, but you can have people doing horrible, awful things from any religion. In other words, you can find out that this pastor was involved in a scandal or something like that. There's a huge difference. It's those things are wrong, and that's why these guys have to keep things completely hidden. And if they ever get brought to light, then they're in all kinds of trouble and will be cast out. And so the thing is, it's understood that it's wrong, and the guy understands that he's doing something wrong. These guys who are messing around with kids, they do not think the Muslim, they do not think they're doing something wrong. It's acceptable. It's protected by their religion, and they look forward to eventually changing the laws to make these things acceptable. Pretty creepy stuff. Anyway, all right, guys, what do you want to talk about some stuff here?
Yeah, let's get into it. So basically, yeah, babies in Islam, how are they made according to Islam, and what does the pregnancy process look like, and what are some other crazy stories that Islam tells us about genetics? And
Funniest birds and the bees talk ever that you will have with your child.
It's
Ever.
good stuff. It's good stuff. There's
yeah,
good stuff in the Muslim sources about human reproduction. And
oh yeah,
that's how I would break it down when because I had a couple debates on specifically on like the scientific stuff, and I would break it down. I would say I would say the universe according to Islam. So describe the universe, and basically at the bottom there's this giant fish, or there's stuff below that, but anyway, you got this big fish or whale, and then on top of that you have these 7 Earths stacked up like pancakes, and they're flat. And then off to the side of one of those is the pool that the sun goes down, and there were some sources that say there are 360 different pools, and then the sun goes down into a different one each day for a 360-day cycle. And then you have the 7 domes on top of that, and in the lowest dome there's the stars and so on, and anyway, up above all the seven heavens. There are these, I think, 8 giant mountain goats, and on top of that is the throne of Allah. And it was just amazing that they look at this and say, it's a scientific miracle. So I break it down into Muhammad's view of the universe, then Muhammad's view of human reproduction, and then as a bonus, I'd toss in Muhammad on like hygiene and I'm not sure what I called it, but some stuff along the lines of where he's saying things like it's okay to drink water with a dead animal floating in it because water is not made impure. Water's not made impure by anything, and even things about going into a town and taking women as sex captives, and you've already got 4 wives and multiple sex slaves already. You go in there, guess what? You don't know what disease that girl that you just took got, or that woman, or that someone's. You don't know what diseases that person has, and now you grab her, have sex with her, and then you have sex with your 4 wives, and then you have sex with your other slave girls. This is a recipe for spreading diseases. So anyway, this is a creepy, weird stuff. But everyone, prepare to be educated on how babies are made according to Islam. All right, guys, you want to jump into it? You want me to toss your slide up on the screen?
Let's go.
All right, let's
do this. Let's put it on full screen. You can. All right, there we go.
So the first thing you're gonna know is from Sahih Muslim Hadith 315a is that ladies have semen just like men do, apparently. And that's according to this hadith. You'll see lots of brackets where they insert things like chromosomes and genes to try and make it look scientific.
Chromosomes
and genes. Well, genes are in the chromosomes, but anyway. But the mistake that we want you to have a look at here is the one highlighted. When the substance of the female prevails upon the substance contributed by the male, a female child is formed.
Yes.
So
let's just give a more accurate translation here. So this is just to show the Muslims, okay, this is their own translation, but we're going to look at specifically this highlighted part here. What does the Arabic actually say?
The Arabic said, the man's water is white. Sorry for the graphic.
It's pretty graphic.
And the woman's water is yellow.
Which is an infection, but anyway.
It's not, you guys, it's not. When they come together, if the man's water...
Oh, that's a typo.
But the word actually for it in Arabic is semen. Overcomes the woman's semen. Okay? So the woman's semen is yellow, apparently. So when the man's white semen overcomes the woman's semen, they will have a male child by the permission of Allah. And if the woman's semen overcomes the man's semen, they will have a female child by the permission of Allah. So the word here in the Arabic is the same word for translated in the hadith about when Aisha was cleaning it off the Prophet's garments. Like, remember when she used to wash it or when she used to scrape it?
Scratch it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
constant. Welcome to Aisha's car wash.
Yeah, exactly.
Scrub Muhammad down after his after his special meeting with Diya al-Kalbi.
So do you notice the glaring scientific error here of how the gender of the child is determined?
Oh yeah, the woman doesn't have a lot to do with it as far as the sex of a child.
Exactly. So actually, the sex of a child is determined by the man always, whether it's a male or female. So this is a glaring mistake.
Yeah.
And women don't have semen, of course.
Right.
There's no such thing.
And that was actually a theory. I forget because back in the day I studied because the main sources for scientific ideas were there was so Aristotle came up with some, and then Hippocrates, and then Galen. But there was a theory during the time of Muhammad that was the two semens theory, that the woman has her semen and the man has her semen. I mean, the man has his semen and so on, and then various ways these two semens can interact determines things about the child. And so, glaring problem: women don't have semen; they have they contribute an egg. And then even if you granted that women have semen, everything he says is wrong about this stuff.
Exactly.
So Yasser Qadhi is going to try and solve it, David.
Yeah. So Yasser Qadhi,
this is awesome.
Yeah. So he said that. David, so believe it or not, Yashar Qadhi said back in the 80s, he said that he used to be so into the Quran and scientific miracles, this and scientific miracles that, and he started realizing soon after he started dialoguing with people, he said, of other faiths, that actually was very problematic. And he's going to talk about that. He's going to talk about that here. So in reference to this hadith, and you just let me know if you want us to stop it all. We can stop it. But let's hear what he has to say about this hadith. All right.
This hadith, which is in Sahih Muslim, seems to suggest something that contradicts everything we know about genetics and about biology.
It sure does. It sure does.
You just love this guy. I thought he was going to say problematic.
Oh, yeah.
This hadith, which is in Sahih Muslim, seems to suggest something that contradicts everything we know about genetics and about biology. Hadith has been narrated by meaning and not by wording.
I just want to pause there. So Yasser Qadhi, that's actually his new position on the Quran, by the way, and we'll talk about that more in the future, Lord willing, because he just produced there's a new book out there with a chapter on this topic. But what he just said here is that hadith, it's not verbatim word for word from Muhammad said. It's actually just meaning. So, and that's important for this hadith because there's two different, narrations of it. So let's see what he says.
They're not memorizing every word, and they can convey the meaning, the gist of the meaning. And that's fine for pretty much most rulings and concepts, but sometimes some narrator will convey the gist of the meaning using a word that might have implications that are not what the Prophet ﷺ intended. So in this hadith, in hadith of Thawban, it seems to suggest that the gender is decided by both fluids of the man and the woman. That is quite clearly in the hadith of Thawban.
Yeah,
and that frankly is somewhat problematic because the gender is not decided by both the fluids of the man and the woman.
He's right so far.
Yeah, it's somewhat problematic.
By the way, the woman's fluid, there's no such thing as the genetic material of the woman is not in any fluid.
Right.
That's what we will talk about later. So the fact that they think a woman is like a man, that she releases fluid,
like
and
she ejaculates or something.
That's not the case, you guys. Okay, that's not the case.
Yeah.
And Anas ibn Malik has a much more detailed version of this incident. And he mentions the name of the rabbi, and he mentions the story that occurred, and he mentions a totally different wording. Not a totally, but still enough that we can actually discover a whole different meaning here. And so what we discover is that the hadith of Thawban was narrated by meaning, and the concept was conveyed, but one of these wordings proved to be problematic. And the hadith of Anas ibn Malik, which I'm going to narrate now, was also conveyed by meaning, but it was closer to the original. So the hadith of Anas ibn Malik is in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. And by the way, Bukhari and Muslim are obviously books that we respect the most after the Quran, and they are considered to be the best efforts ever made in the history of our religion for preserving hadith. But Bukhari is head and shoulders above Muslim. He said, I'm going to ask you three things that no one knows about.
Oh, they're talking about with Abdullah?
Yes.
Dude, this is a bigger problem because this Muhammad says he got the answer from Gabriel, right?
Yeah.
That's a bigger problem. If Muhammad said something still, the hadith are filled with Muhammad being wrong about things. You could always say, well, he's a merely human prophet. Of course he got things wrong. But when he's saying, hey, I got this from the angel Gabriel, and he turns out to be wrong, then it's, wait a minute, the same being who is giving me the Quran and delivering me the Quran also delivered this, and it's completely factually false. Weird stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And also the other glaring issue, which is that the person who's asked, the rabbi or the Jewish leader who's asking him this question, saying, hey, only prophets know the answer to these questions, he must be a prophet if he knows the answer to the questions. Like, how can he fact check him? How can he know if he's right? Because at the end of the hadith, he goes, you're correct. You're correct. Well, how does he know that unless he's a prophet? I thought only prophets knew the answer to the questions.
I do remember, I'm trying to think about this specific one, but some of these things are in the Talmud actually. So you had Jews who believed some of these things. Like I remember the 40 days where it remains as a drop of semen for 40 days. That's actually in the Talmud. I'm guessing this two semens theory might. I think there's something that's very close to close to Muhammad's answer that's in the Talmud. I've wanted to make videos about that in a while, but I'd have to look it all up again. But yeah, so it is weird because I mean he gives us three answers. Two of them are completely there's no way to test them at all, and then the third one is factually false. But Abdullah didn't know it, and he concludes that Muhammad's a prophet. So think about this: you got two things where no one can know, and then the other thing is something where Muhammad was wrong about. And this guy's like, I'm converting to Islam.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see.
All right, let's see.
I'm going to ask you three things that no one knows about other than a prophet. And he asked him what is going to be, the food of the people of Jannah, etc., etc. And then he said that, and tell me, where does the similarity of the child come from? Sometimes the child goes after the father, and sometimes the child goes after the mother's side. Notice here, in this hadith, it's not the gender that is being asked. It is the similarity. The Arabic word, shabah, looks. Where does the looks of the child come? Then when the man has conjugal relations with his woman, if his fluid, sabaqa, the fluid, I'll translate it now. Sabaqa means to win the race, or it can mean sabaqa means to be first. If his
wait, the fluid wins the race. So the sperm, you can imagine a video you ever seen the sperm swimming and stuff like that. So the male sperm are swimming and the female sperm they're swimming and they're racing and stuff like this. And if the woman's sperm crosses the finish line first.
Oh man.
Then the child looks like her first.
That's crazy. Oh man. All right, let's see. What's Yasser Qadhi's amazing insight on this? Let's see.
Fluid, sabaqa, her fluid, then the child will look like him. But if her fluid, sabaqa, his fluid, then the child looks like her. The child looks like her. But the word sabaqa also means to overpower. The word sabaqa also means to be dominant. How does the child get the resemblance of the parent? And the Prophet responded, essentially, the dominant genes. Which one? He didn't use the wording, and in all likelihood, these wordings were not even known. But this is the miracle.
All right, so basically...
Did he just say this is the miracle?
Yeah, this is the miracle. The miracle is, essentially that Muhammad knew about dominant genes and recessive genes. That's basically how he's reinterpreting this hadith.
There's still problems with that. The child can look like both.
Yes.
Because the gene can be dominant, like, for example, the eye color can be dominant from mom's side and the height can be dominant from dad's side.
Right.
And just for people who don't know, the woman's egg does not go anywhere. It doesn't race. There's no race.
It doesn't cross the finish line?
It doesn't cross. It sits in the pelvis and waits to be fertilized. Like, the story that we all know about, the picture that the egg is sat there and all the sperms are rushing towards it.
Yeah.
That's what happens. It doesn't get released in any fluid. It doesn't. It's not in any liquid. The liquids that Muhammad was thinking about, the naughty man that he is what the stuff that happens during when he sees his women.
Yeah,
it's got no genetic material.
The stuff that was on his garment.
Yeah, that stuff.
Yeah, and that's a key because I've seen this in hadith passages where they'll as you guys are pointing out add things that aren't in there to try and make it sound scientific. Like they'll say the material in the egg or the material of the ovum or something like that. When Muhammad obviously believes that it's something you see. You see it. It's this yellow substance and so on. He talks about it as something that everyone knows about. What is this yellow? So he's not. He didn't see inside an egg. So he's talking about something else. And it's not the egg, and it doesn't. It has, as you pointed out, has nothing to do with the appearance of the child or the genetics.
Exactly, and we have evidence even for that, David. Look here at this hadith, Sunan Nisa'i 197 is Sahih hadith. He was talking to his wife, Salama, and he was telling her that women have to do a washing after a wet dream.
And she starts laughing.
She started laughing because she's a woman. She says, do women really have wet dreams? So they're talking about things that can be seen, fluids that can be seen outside the body.
Mm-hmm.
He said, yes. Aha. How else would her child resemble her?
Gotcha.
So he obviously
Busted.
And then look at the footnote here. They have
Yeah,
a little
brilliant.
footnote.
Brilliant.
She has an
Master of scientific knowledge here added this footnote.
She has an emission. If there's
Of
any
the
emission,
fluid. The fluid.
Yeah,
the fluid,
Now,
whatever that is.
DOC, you know more about this than I do, but if she has an emission of the fluid of an orgasm, does the material of an egg somehow come out?
No,
No,
it
that's
doesn't.
not. So in other words, there's no way to make sense of this to tie all this
Yeah.
together.
The egg needs to be inside of her. Otherwise, how would the child grow? The child doesn't grow outside the body.
So it's not like a chicken that lays an egg or hatches
No,
an egg.
the human egg needs to stay inside the mother. So the egg is hiding in the pelvis of the mother. Whatever you see on the outside, that fluid, that she needs to go see a doctor if it's an infection. Because
this
women
is
don't.
the reason this is funny, because Muhammad has all these gotchas. Ha ha! You got schooled. You got schooled. You can imagine all the Muslims around him going, "Oh, God, you busted! She has been humiliated. She challenged the Prophet, but he humiliated her. How would the child resemble the mother if women didn't have wet dreams?"
It's kind of like when Aisha, when she said to Muhammad, he's telling her, everybody has a jinn. Everybody has, and she's like, everybody, Prophet of Allah? He's like, yeah, everybody. She's like, so what about your jinn? He's like, oh, my jinn became a Muslim.
Yeah.
So he's like, gotcha.
By the way, if you're having IVF, if you have a trouble having a baby, if you go to any clinic, they will never ask a woman for that fluid.
Right.
Yeah, get us that fluid so we can make a baby.
Oh yeah.
They ask a man for it, but not the woman, because that doesn't have anything in it. I'm sorry.
Hey, that would be a funny skit, like an Islamic fertility clinic, but they're an actual hadith compliant fertility clinic.
But obviously, Muhammad is so self-obsessed. He thought that how his stuff works is how a woman's stuff works. But you can see his wife is laughing at him. You see here Salama as well.
Literally laughing. So Yasser Qadhi acknowledges and he admits that you have an authentic hadith. He says that the chain's authentic, everything like that. There's no problem with the chain. It's authentic. The one that talks about the gender, but he says that's problematic. No way to reconcile that. So let's try to solve this another way. Well, his solution, as we see here, didn't work.
Amen. So we're going to move on now to another nice little tidbit that a lot of people know.
Mm-hmm.
In Surah 86, verse 6 and 7, talking about how human beings are made from a fluid ejected from between the backbone and the ribs. And this is Sahih International translation. But we found some extra stuff, you guys, in the Qurtubi tafsir.
Commentaries.
The Qurtubi commentary that is just amazing.
Is that the one? I've seen it tied in saying that this actually refers to the fluid of the man and the fluid of the woman.
Yes, it does.
Is that in Qurtubi?
Yes, it is.
Oh, cool.
Yes, cool. So we can go to it.
All right.
So this is, I've got screenshots if you want to show your Muslim friends the Arabic, and I've got the English next to it.
Screenshot, everybody.
Screenshot time. This water comes out from between the backbone, meaning the back. So Qurtubi was really happy about that. It comes from the back. Mm-hmm. And it's called the sulb in Arabic. The backbone is from the man, and the tara'ib, which is the word for ribs, are from the woman.
Aha.
And Ibn Abbas said a tara'ib refers to the place of the necklace. So if you know where the necklace hangs, that's where babies come from the woman.
Correct.
From between her breasts.
How could Muhammad have known this?
He's amazing.
Scientists, medical doctors are only finding this out now. It's a miracle.
And you'll notice here that we have this guy called Ad-Haq, and he's highlighted here in a different color because he's going to come up later. Actually, the reason why he has that name is quite significant, and it plays into this topic. But we'll get into that when it comes up. Yep. I just wanted to just bring his attention to that name.
Another man, Ikrima, he said that the tara'ib of the woman refers to the hands, legs, and the eyes.
Wow.
So they think the baby comes from everywhere except where it actually comes from.
The hands, the legs, the eyes.
The
Imagine that, the eyes.
But most of the scholars think it's actually the chest, the ribs. Like Saeed ibn Jubayr here, he said it's the neck.
The egg is in the eyes.
So when you cry,
They're
that
round.
comes-
They're round like an
come out.
egg. Eyes are round
Yeah.
like eggs.
So see, when you're crying, that's the liquid that Muhammad was talking about.
Yeah, that's the fluid. Mujahid said,
Muhammad, do women have wet dreams too? Yes, when they cry. Haven't you cried? Oh, burn!
Got you.
it's hilarious. And Mujahid said, actually, no, it's what's between the shoulders and the chest, like the back, and also the chest. And from him also, he said collarbones.
Oh.
And,
By the way, I mean, this is just a hilarious situation in that the Quran says that that the fluid proceeds from between the backbone and the ribs, which most people, when they read it, think it's talking about somewhere in between the backbone and the ribs, and that this is talking about the fluid of a man. Then you have the Muslim commentators, no, this is talking about the two fluids. There's the fluid of the man comes from the backbone, and the fluid of the woman comes from between the ribs. And then, but then the commentators disagree on what that's referring to. And hey, I say it's talking about the hands, legs, and eyes. No, I say it's what's between the... All these guys who have absolutely no clue about reality or where... One, they're arguing about where the fluid of the woman comes from that she emits during a wet dream, and that they think determines the appearance of a child. And you got all these guys who are probably thinking that they're super, super smart and not complete ignorant morons.
that's where Islam comes from. So the rest of it says, Ibn Jubair from Ibn Abbas.
Didn't he say something else too, Ibn Abbas?
Yeah, it comes later.
Okay. Yeah.
So Ibn Abbas, Muhammad's cousin, says it refers to 4 ribs from the side, just one side. And as Zajaz reported, that actually refers to 4 ribs on the right side of the chest and 4 ribs on the left side of the chest.
Wait. So this is the fluid of the woman that contributes to the appearance of a child?
Correct.
Yeah.
No, it's from the ribs on the right side. Wrong. It's from the ribs on the left side. You're a moron. No, you're a moron. You don't even know which side this fluid comes from. This is basically the heart of Islamic commentaries over the centuries.
These are the scholars that Muslims are always bragging about and talking about.
Yeah, this is what they tell you off if you're not one of those scholars.
Yeah.
But Ibn Abbas has said, and he refutes you.
Muammar ibn Abi Habiba says, At-tara'ib is actually the essence of the heart.
Oh, it's the heart.
It's the heart now. And from it, the child is formed. So they hit every organ.
You're right in pointing out they're trying to say what this refers to, and they're saying absolutely everything in the human body except the correct answer. You would expect one of them to get it right eventually just by luck when they're saying everything that they could possibly say.
And then, the one who would have guessed it right, they'd be like, "Oh, you see, scientific miracle."
Exactly, but actually, they don't feature the one that's right.
Yeah.
But actually, the well-known view among the Arabs, so the majority view is that bones of the chest and the neck from the woman.
Yes.
Nowhere near where it comes from. You need to go way down. You're not in the right continent of where it is. Just go way down. So, the next
is
one.
rough. This is rough.
Oh yeah.
The rest of it, this is funny. It says, and in the interpretation, the child is created from the man's fluid that comes out from his backbone, which is the bone and the sinew, and from the woman's fluid that comes from her ribs, which is the flesh and the blood. Makes no sense, but that's what they say. But look here, it says, the man's fluid, it is said that it descends from the brain.
Ooh.
Nice.
Then it gathers in the testicle.
Hey, good job, guys. You actually at least you mentioned testicles for once.
But it starts from the brain. It's a fluid from the brain.
Out of the brain.
Yeah, but But then notice here, the reason they say it does not contradict the statement that it comes from between the backbones, because it passes through.
Oh, it goes from the brain to the
Yeah, as it descends from the brain.
By the
to
way,
the
I don't
backbone.
know if you guys are. I don't know if you guys are. I don't know if you have this on here, but as far as Muslims trying to make sense of these passages, because I mean they don't so much anymore. But if you go back 15 years, they were all trying. They would try to defend these things because they said scientific miracles, and we said, okay, what about this? What about that? And they would try to make sense of them. But the claim that the fluid comes from between the backbone and ribs, there were two main versions of that. There are two main defenses of that I heard from Muslims, and one of them was, but the blood supply goes through there that ultimately feeds the relevant body parts and so on. So the blood flow is going through there. That was one. And the other main one that I heard back then was during the development of the embryo, the cells that eventually become the testes move through that area of the embryo. And that's what Muhammad is referring to. And you see, it's actually a scientific miracle. How could he know where these cells are moving in the embryo? And the problem, of course, with that is that we were all in Adam's backbone. We were all in Adam's backbone. And guess what? Adam wasn't an embryo. So saying that you're in the backbone cannot say that during your development as an embryo, certain cells were moving through an area of you or something like that, because Adam was just shaped and then Allah breathed into him. So anyway, the point is there's nothing that makes sense of this to where you would think that this is remotely correct.
No.
That's clever. That's saying Adam and the Adam response. That's good. Yeah, we can move to the rest of it. Al-Hasan said the meaning is that it comes from the man's backbone, but he thought also from the man's ribs and the woman's backbone and the woman's ribs, because
I thought the Quran was clear.
Yeah.
It's not clear. So he actually thought maybe that's the case. Maybe it's both their backbones and ribs.
Hey,
Yeah,
Muhammad's like, I'll give you these Quran verses and it'll be so hopelessly confusing that thousands of you will completely disagree and come up with thousands of explanations, and maybe one of them actually turns out to be right. And then we can say it's a scientific miracle. How could Allah have known this?
But here's the explanation that he gives for his position. He says, we know that the sperm comes from all parts of the body.
Yeah, sure does. Yeah, we know this. They taught me this in biology. Said, hey, just so you know, sperm comes from all parts of the body. There's sperm in the fingers. There's sperm in the ears. There's sperm from the toes. Sperm comes from. Everyone knows this, guys. These are the guys who are educating people in the world. This is wild stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he makes sense. He says that is why the child is resembling the parents in every way.
Yeah, because how else could he resemble the parents unless the sperm was in those areas?
And this is the wisdom behind washing the entire body after, the emission of semen.
Or just scraping it off the garments.
Additionally, one who engages frequently in intercourse finds pain in his back.
Oh,
this is the proof. When Muhammad would bang all 9 of his wives in one night, he would say, my back is sore. Why? Because of all the semen coming out of his backbone and going into his wives. This is the proof. See, he has the sexual strength of 30 men. This refers to his super strong backbone.
He has the backbone of 30 men.
Exactly right. Because the backbone gets so hurt from the constant emptying of it, where there has been fluid before.
Oh, wow.
That's in Qurtubi, you guys. So that's finishes that segment of things.
Yeah, so we use AI throughout this. AI has been producing some pictures for us here. So
next, when that semen eventually comes and makes a baby, how long does pregnancy last?
Yeah. How long does pregnancy last?
How long? We don't know.
Let's inquire with Islam.
So
Allah knows best. Muhammad.
Yeah.
According to Muwatta Malik, this hadith here, a woman was brought, because she had given birth 6 months after marriage. So she was ordered to be stoned. So they waited until she gave birth, and they concluded that actually pregnancy can be 6 months, and she was spared from stoning.
Okay.
So this was 6 months.
So that's one number that we have so far. 6 months.
6 months. So, I would say she was naughty before she married her husband, but they thought that not. But that's not even the craziest thing.
That's one number.
That's
so
one number.
Check this out now. Check this out. This is it gets a little crazier here. 6 months, you might be like, okay, what?
6 months.
I want that picture for the thumbnail. No.
Oh, you like, you like that? I'll tell you, man. AI is amazing.
Yeah, we fed AI the information. He was like, there you go. According to Qurtubi, tafsir of Surah 65, verse 4, you remember the...
everyone's favorite verse on child marriage?
Oh, yeah. Super creepy.
He said, if the child is to remain in the womb for 5 years, he may remain there for 10 years or more.
Whoa.
And Malik narrated similar to this. And if the lady has doubts about a pregnancy, she should wait for 4, 5, or 7 years, depending on the different narrations of our scholars.
Brilliant
Amazing
scholars.
So
these are the most knowledgeable people in the world, Muslim scholars.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why the Muslim world dominates in science, and everyone who wants to learn physics, biology, everything goes to the Muslim world to learn because of these brilliant scholars.
Absolutely. So this is Qurtubi, but he's not the only one. Look here at this surah, Surah 13, verse 8. It sounds so nice. Allah knows what every female carries and what the womb loses or exceeds, and everything with him is by due measure.
Let's see what the commentaries say.
So the commentary of the commentary of that verse said that pregnancy can last 2 years, 3 years, 4, 6, 7, or 10 years, or even an unlimited time.
Unlimited.
There's no
She
limit.
should be pregnant forever.
No limit. And there were narrations of stories of women who gave birth 4 years to babies fully formed with teeth, long hair, and they were even able to speak when they were born.
Nice. That happens.
Yeah.
That happens all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Narrations from Aisha herself, Omar, Malik ibn Anas, and Mu'adh ibn Jabal. All these people were around Muhammad's time.
Yeah, Aisha definitely an expert on childbirth and so on. Think about this. She's this little girl hearing all this stuff from Muhammad. Then he dies, and she's an expert too on all this stuff. And Muslims point this out. The reason Muhammad had to marry Aisha is because she was so smart and she's picking up on such great knowledge, and then she's spouting complete idiotic nonsense. And they're like, but she learned everything from Muhammad, so must be good as gold.
Well, this is for another one of your screenshot. Here's the Arabic down there.
Screenshot, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, check this out.
Aisha said pregnancy is no longer than 2 years.
2 years.
2 years, yeah. So she gave 2 years, but others said 3 years, like Layth ibn Sa'd. And Ash-Shafi'i, you know his name, the Shafi'iyya, one of the 4 main schools of thought, said 4 years. Malik, in one of his 2 narrations, said 5 years, and even said no limit in another narration, even more than 10 years.
Whoa.
And what's crazy is the Muslim, the method of the Muslims would be, okay, so 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. Which one is my favorite scholar, the best scholar on this list? And he'll be the one who's right. It's like, no, they're all wrong.
And as you can see here, the last line, Abu Amr said this issue has no origin, meaning that you can't verify it. And it's only by ijtihad, only by discretion in judgment. That you
a scholarly way of getting to an opinion. Like it's the scholarly conjecture, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why it's that hard a subject. But there's a story here about a lady. She was pregnant 3 times, lasting 4 years each.
I just read it. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, she was called Hamilat al-Fil, the carrier of the elephant.
Nice.
Who is the wife of Muhammad ibn Ajlan, by the way. That's the name and that's the screenshot. 4 years each time, so 12 years lasting in total.
Yeah, 3 times she's pregnant, 4 years each. Okay, So check this out. This is a newborn baby. You got all his teeth. He's got a full set of hair. Let's check out the story. Let's check it out.
So it was narrated that Malik ibn Dinar was sitting one day. A man came to him, said, "Hey, Abu Yahya, make dua for my wife who has been pregnant for 4 years. She's in great distress." So Malik became angry and shut the Mus'haf. He was reading the Quran at the time and said, "Those people think we're prophets." Then he read and he made supplication for Allah. And then he said, "Oh Allah, this woman, if what is within her abdomen is gas, then let it out this hour. But if what's within her abdomen is a girl, replace it with a boy."
Wow.
So,
Ameen.
so she gave, so at that time, wow, mashallah, at that time, a messenger came to the man saying, "Come to your wife." So he went, and she had given birth to a boy with crisp curly hair. The boy was 4 years old with grown teeth, and his umbilical cord was uncut.
He's just chilling in there and just like, 4 years.
He cut his own umbilical cord.
He's inside. Ma, can you send me a sandwich? I cut my cord. I'm starving in here. I'm starving. Hey,
There he is.
That's him. 4 years she was pregnant, apparently.
it's just funny because I mean, thinking about people not knowing stuff. Like my mom got pregnant with me when she was 15, and then she told me later. She said she started feeding me McDonald's hamburgers when I was 4 months old, and I'm like, what? That's not like I couldn't digest some of that stuff. And she goes, but you had 4 teeth, so I thought that since you had teeth, then you were ready to eat hamburgers and so on. But I'm thinking like, okay, she didn't know. She didn't know any better. But I'm thinking like she knew light years more than these guys.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
She knew light years more than the greatest scholars of the Ummah. I don't think she would have ever bought the idea that I could have been born at 4 years old with teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking a lot of these women, they took the men for a ride. Oh, I wasn't unfaithful to you. I just been pregnant all that time from the last time I saw you years ago.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Or maybe I was thinking maybe she like put on a weight or something like that, and they're like,
But
oh,
she
she's
gave-
pregnant.
But she gave birth.
That's true. Yeah, she gave birth.
Yep. So that's her, and then
wait, one more.
yep. So there's another story. It was narrated that a man came to Umar ibn al-Khattab himself. He said, "Oh, Prince of the Believers, I was away from my wife for 2 years. Then I came to find her pregnant."
What could have happened? How could this happen?
Screenshot,
So-
everyone. Screenshot.
Good shot.
Screenshot. That's again Qurtubi. So Omar consulted the people regarding stoning her. But Mu'adh ibn Jabal, another companion, he stood up. He said, "No, O Prince of the Believers, if you have a way against her, you have no way against what's in her abdomen. Leave her until she gives birth." So he left her. She gave birth to a boy whose 2 pair of incisor teeth had already grown. So he had 4 teeth, the top and the bottom.
Miracle.
Front one. And the husband saw his likeness in the boy. He said, "By the God of the Kaaba, this is my son."
2 years,
2 years, and the man hadn't been with his wife
Yeah.
in all that time.
but that was definitely his son. Yeah.
So
You-
that
you know-
was
It's weird when the Quran or the Hadith get anything right on science, it's clearly something that was just basic common knowledge, or it's something that that were medical theories at the time, that were various theories at the time. In other words, there's nothing that Muhammad gets right, and it's like, oh my goodness, there's no way that anyone could have gotten this right at his time. But what I find weird about this is it's fairly common knowledge about how long women are pregnant, even back then, right? Like people understood. Okay, I just got married, and then it was 9, 10, 11 months later, I was having a baby, and so starting there, pregnancy started somewhere in these first couple of months of marriage or something like that. But this idea that it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, like. I'm trying to think, who in the name of common sense could have not had that basic level of knowledge? Like people just learn things over time. Like people learn that semen, how does Muhammad know that semen has something to do with human reproduction? Well, people figure that out over time. I have sex. I put this fluid in the woman, and that obviously has something to do with pregnancy because that's the only time they get pregnant. So they learned things over time, but you would have expected them to learn like a basic time frame, and they're getting that wrong even.
Yeah, I mean, if only David had known that if David had known that a woman could be pregnant for 2 years, he wouldn't have panicked about Bathsheba's husband.
Yeah.
Oh, King
David.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, that would have changed everything. Come on, dude. Of course you've been out to battle for a long time, but she was pregnant. She was pregnant from before.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So Omar here says, "Oh, thank you, Mu'adh. I would have perished." He says Omar would have perished if he had stoned her, for a mistake she hadn't made.
Yes.
So Omar believed it. So this is the haq that we talked about before.
Yes.
Oh, one second. Mo, hey, let me get this comment up.
Go back.
Go back.
Mo T here says, women were tracking periods as early as the 2nd century. They knew the schedule was 6 to 9 months, even back then. I've thought that when it talks about the blood clot stage of embryonic development, I've thought that this is connected to, you had the various theories, Aristotle and Galen and so on. They thought that it had something to do with the blood in the woman, and that women contribute the blood, and their reasoning was that women have a monthly menstrual cycle that stops when they're pregnant, and so you can kind of see how Muhammad might have gotten the idea that it has something to do with the blood clotting or something like that. But that's a good point as far as menstrual cycles and stuff, and then stopping during pregnancy and stuff. That gives people a pretty darn good, a pretty accurate time frame, and all these Muslim commentators aren't even getting like the basics of the basics that should have been fairly common knowledge back then, and they're getting that wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of like the iddah period for the Muslims, like 3 months. So you don't need 3 months to determine.
You need 3 years because you don't know.
You need 3 years.
Yeah, but think about that. Even 3 months, okay, that's enough time to give you an idea of whether someone is pregnant. And so, how would you know if someone is pregnant? If you think someone could be pregnant for years, how would you know that someone is pregnant? Okay, well, she doesn't get her monthly cycle or something like that. Like how can this possibly make sense? Do you think there are women who go 5 years without having a monthly menstrual cycle, but they don't grow, and all of a sudden then they blow up, and then they're like the size, they're giving birth to an elephant?
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show that whoever wrote these things that Muslims see, a high regard, they put them on such a pedestal. They didn't know anything.
These guys are completely clueless about but here's the bigger thing, because if someone is ignorant or someone doesn't know much, I don't have a problem with that. But it's the fact that they all speak with confidence. This is the way it is. Okay, these are the same guys telling us about paradise and the meaning of various Quran verses, and they speak like you could imagine if these were Dawah guys, they'd be thumping their toes. 2 years, no, in 5 years, I will humiliate you. And they all act like they know what they're talking about. And we're looking at it, and it's a giant joke. Wild stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is one of the
haq,
the
one that we mentioned earlier.
He said, "My mother gave birth to me, and she had carried me in her abdomen for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And she gave birth to me. My teeth had already emerged.
Miracle."
And then Malik,
I chewed through my own umbilical cord with my teeth. That's why I'm so strong.
Malik said, "Yes, me too. Mother's abdomen, 2 years, and it was said 3 years."
Whoa!
And it was mentioned that Muhammad ibn Ajlan remained in his mother's abdomen for 3 years. Then she died with him because he was shaking greatly inside. He split her abdomen open and came out with grown teeth.
He chewed his way out. It's like the movie Aliens. Anyway.
And there was a man called Harim.
It'd be funny if you guys made a little video out of this and you intersperse it with you intersperse this with clips of the alien popping out of someone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is like something out of a movie. This
Yeah.
like I don't
He's
know
like,
which
"Rah, rah,
movie.
rah, 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 chewed
Yeah,
I,
just-
I bit through my own
yeah.
umbilical cord and then chewed my way out through her belly. Oh, that's why I'm
Yeah,
the greatest warrior of all time.
And she died because he did that. There was a man called Harim ibn Hayyan. The word Harim in Arabic means elderly. They called him that because he was in his mother's belly for 4 years. And the haq, the word in Arabic means the one who's the laughing one. They called him that because when he came out, he had teeth, so it looked like he was smiling or laughing, like like a toothy smile. That's why he was called the haq, the laughing one.
I was laughing because I chewed my way out of my mother's abdomen.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah, that's fine. So that's it. So that's how he
There
came
you go.
out, and he was laughing, and they called him the laughing one.
So whenever you guys hear Muslims referring to this scholar of theirs, the hawk, or the hawk, you just think of this story. This is how he got his name. He got his name because he came out like this kid here.
Yeah, laughing with all his teeth.
Oh boy.
This is another one. Harim, the man we were talking about, he remained in his mother's abdomen for 4 years. So it came, his name means elderly. This is another narration of the same thing, of the haq being born out 2 years with his teeth already appearing.
But check this added detail out.
Yeah, this is another narration. A neighbor of ours gave birth at 4 years to a boy whose hair had reached his shoulders at birth. And a bird passed him by, so the newborn said to the bird, "Kish," or shoot, to
Kasha.
shoot. Yeah, to shoo it away. He did all that as a newborn.
The kid was born and a bird flew by and the kid said, "Stupid bird." Shoo.
Yeah. So it's amazing. And his hair had reached his shoulders. His hair was flowing in the wind and everything.
Like Fabio. He was born with hair like Fabio.
Yeah, and he had like the intellect to know, like, to shoo away the bird. and
Like
everything.
he knew what to do.
Now someone find me a dog and I will kill him in accordance with the commands of Muhammad. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Like superhuman. So people asked Islam QA in the Arabic version. This is published in 22nd of November 2009.
Wait, they
And
didn't
that's
put this on their English site?
I don't know if they did, but we translated it,
Good,
Yes.
good.
and that's what they said.
That's pretty nice.
They said some of them said the known period, which is 9 months. Some of them said 1 year. Okay, 2 years is the Hanafi school. 3 years is a Layth ibn Sa'd. 4 years is a Shafi'i and Hanbali and Maliki schools, which, as you know, they are like the 3 schools of jurisprudence of Sunni Islam. But guess why they said 4 years? A lot of them, because as you know, Muhammad was born 4 years too late. So that's why they adopted for their schools.
I remember there was yeah. Go ahead, David. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying this is we were just saying this, that like when you're talking about all these when you're quoting all these different classical Muslim commentators and stuff, and they're saying all these different things, and then I say, and Muslims today will make decisions based on what their favorite scholar is or which scholar they appeal to, and then instead of just like opening a biology textbook or something like that, will go to their favorite scholar, and these guys are doing it. So okay, well here are the different perspectives of the different schools. Okay, it's all wrong, dude. It's all wrong. Why are you going to these guys? And it's the same. Again, it's just amazing. These are the same guys who, like, you will adhere to a particular school, and it's like, wait, the same guys who are giving you your interpretation of the Quran and telling you how to think about this and telling you what the ruling is about this or that, they're the same guys who don't understand the basics of biology. And you're willing to go out and kill for stuff. You're willing to go out and kill for what your school of thought says. And they have no clue what they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I remember hearing about this like some years ago. There was a big controversy at Al-Azhar in Egypt, and they were talking. This is like the what is like the biggest Islamic institution. Then you have like Medina, right? But Al Azhar is like the top one, right? And they were having this big controversy about this topic about the duration of pregnancy, and so they're like having this inner debate about, is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? Is it 4 years? And I remember someone was making a contrast. They were like, in Western universities, they're talking about like, going to the moon, and Muslims are like, you be pregnant for 2 years or 4 years or
Yeah.
Yeah.
The half brain women really did a number on them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, in the West, people are doing quantum electrophysics and stuff like this. And these are guys, let's look at the scholars to find out whether it's 2 years as a embryo or 3 years or 4 years.
4 years. The most of them, but 5 years was narrated from Imam Malik, 6 years from Zuhri and Malik again, 7 years.
Oh boy! And then no limit at all.
And then there is the no limit, and that's from these scholars that are the modern contemporary scholars: Shinqiti, Ibn Baz, and Al-Uthaymeen.
Big names, contemporary, yeah.
Big names. They say no limit.
But scholar, how could there be no limit when a woman was born? Well, this woman was born pregnant, and her mother was born pregnant with her, and her mother before her, and so there's no limit. It's like this Russian nesting doll situation where the girl is born, but she's already pregnant with the granddaughter, and the granddaughter's already in there. She's inside, and she's already pregnant. This is wild.
Yeah, it's wild stuff. But guess what? It gets worse.
So remember we talked about the birds and the bees earlier? We mentioned that. This is the miswak in the bees.
Yeah, so miswak is what Muhammad used to wash his teeth, clean his teeth with.
Yep.
And remember,
beat his wives. Sorry.
Beat his wife with it, exactly. But is it able to do stuff?
Let's see.
There's
the magical powers.
Human miswak hybrid. So the source for this weird story is from Al-Bidaya wa Nihaya by Ibn Kathir and Ibn Khallikan in his, this is the book that I've got on the screen here, Wafiyat al-Ayan, and another book called Shadarat al-Dhahab as well. They're all scholars of sort of the Middle Ages of Islam, the 600s after Muhammad and onwards. So we've got another video for you to tell you the story.
All right.
By a Muslim himself.
It's subtitled.
It's subtitled, yeah.
Let's check it out. All right.
Let's go.
He's going to tell us the story.
أختم بوقعة عجيبة جدا جدا. قال ابن خلكان، ذكرها ابن خلكان، والقصة ذكرها ابن كثير في البداية والنهاية، الجزء 13 صفحة 72 وفي صفحة 263، وذكرها صاحب شذرات الذهب الجزء الخامس صفحة 457.
Golden Nuggets.
قصة عجيبة جدا جدا. قال ابن خلكان: بلغنا عن جماعة يوثق بهم وصلوا إلى دمشق من أهل بصرى أن عندهم قرية يقال لها دير أبي سلامة، وكان بها رجل من العربان فيه استهزاء زائد بالدين. فجرى يوم ذكر السواك وهو جالس. الشيخ عمل محاضرة كلها عن السواك، خطبة جمعة كلها عن السواك، فقال سواك إيه بس؟ والله لا أستاك إلا من الدبر. شفت الفاجر؟ فاجر.
I like that guy. I like that. Wait, this guy's a creepy.
Yeah.
This guy's gonna have to. He's gonna make an awesome Muslim. Oh, no, sorry.
Yep. So you following the story?
So he inserted it now into his backside.
Mocking the miswak.
Yeah. This you use this to clean you. This is.
Yeah. Well,
I'll shove this up my butt in your face. Look, it's sticking out of my butt. This is what I think of your muswak.
Check this out.
فآلمه تلك الليلة، ثم مضى عليه 9 أشهر وهو يشكو من ألم في بطنه وفي مخرجه. ثم أصابه بعدها مثل طلق الحامل فوضع حيوانا على هيئة جرذون شبيه الفأر كده. صاح الحيوان 3 صيحات ثم قامت ابنة الرجل فضربته على رأسه فمات، يعني الجرذون. ولم يلبث الرجل بعدها إلا يومين، وكان يقول وهو يموت: إن هذا الشيء قطع أمعائي. قال ابن كثير: وشاهد ذلك الحيوان جماعة من أهل تلك الناحية وخطيب المكان أيضا. قصة عجيبة، لكني ذكرت لك المصادر التي جئت بها منها.
All right. So
What do you think, David?
Yeah, that sort of thing happens all the time.
oh yeah.
I remember I got myself a new Reach toothbrush, and I was telling this guy, hey, I got a new toothbrush. He's like, here's what I think of your toothbrush. I will stick it up my butt. And then the dude got pregnant with this little rat baby. And, it was pretty, it served him right for making fun of my toothbrush.
Yeah, because he made fun of Muhammad's toothbrush. Never mind your toothbrush. If you make fun of Muhammad's toothbrush, this is what happened to you.
This little rat creature comes out of you.
A human miswak hybrid, which was a rat, apparently. So we went and found the source, you guys. Screenshot.
This is the proof.
That's the proof.
This is the Arabic, and I'll check it out.
Check it out. This is from Shadarat al-Dhahab, The Golden Nuggets by Imam Ahmad al-Hanbali.
I will put those golden nuggets in my butt. Oh no! Now I'm giving birth to a monkey demon.
Yep, by Ibn Ahmad al-Hanbali, Volume 7, page 551, the online version, and we've also got a link for you, and I've translated it for you too.
Okay.
So he says the story. The man mocked it, said, I will not use it except on my you-know-what. And he took the miswak and he left it in there, according to this narration. And it gave him pain that night. And then 9 months later, he complained of pain.
Wait. Now they get 9 months, right?
Yeah, now they get the 9 months right.
Now when it's talking about a guy sticking a toothbrush up his butt, now they suddenly know how long it takes for a baby.
They got it right there, actually. I didn't notice that.
That's pretty funny.
And then he experienced the birth pains like that of a pregnant woman, and he delivered an animal in the shape of a large rat. But the head of it was like the head of a fish. And it had 4 prominent fangs, and it had a long tail, and it had a bottom like that of a rabbit.
Wow.
So
like a rabbit,
rabbit fish
rabbit fish rat.
It's a rabbit fish rat. It's a rabbit fish rat baby.
Yep.
Because he stuck a toothbrush up his butt. These are the guys who are preserving the powerful religion of Islam all these years, and the guys that Muslims look up to get all their information from, and they wonder why things don't work out so well for science in the Muslim world.
Yeah, and not only did he give birth to it, the animal cried. The daughter of the man, she killed it. So she killed her half brother, I guess.
Why did you do that to your rabbit fish rat brother?
Exactly. And not only did they say that, like they say that people witnessed it, and they named the people, they named the region.
Trustworthy people, yeah. They said trustworthy people.
And they named the region too.
Yeah.
Dairu Bani Salama. Dairu Abi Salama, sorry. And even the man who gave the sermons, the imam, saw the rat.
Yeah.
So
here's a little footnote. Shout out to Uthman ibn Farouk in this footnote.
Yeah. Do you see that there's a line? Do you see Uthman? There's a line and there's a footnote. There's usually a line. So this footnote is by the editor. The editor said, I did not stand for the source in my hands. So he doesn't like it. Transmitted by Ibn Khallikan in his book, Wafiyat al-Ayan. And he may have transmitted it from another source, and it is far from reality, he says. Yeah, that's what the modern editor has said. But he says there's a lesson to be taken from it, in that the mocking of the miswak and other things used about the Messenger of Allah,
it's not permitted.
Which he recommended for Muslims to use, not permitted under any circumstances, because the punishment will be severe.
So he doesn't believe in the story, but he believes that there's certain principles you can derive from it.
That's
Yeah.
what the modern editor said.
So,
But the other guy,
So I don't believe. So he's saying I don't believe that this dude actually gave birth to a little fish rabbit baby because he stuck the toothbrush up his butt. But it's still makes the point about not making fun of someone's muswak.
oh yeah,
Yep, correct.
that's it.
Correct.
So yeah, that's what we had today. That's what we wanted to go over with you.
Powerful stuff. Anyone ready to convert to Islam after witnessing the scientific miracles for yourself? How could a bunch of ignorant people centuries ago have known all of this incredible scientific information that is only being confirmed by medical experts today? I'm expecting a wave of converts who are like, yes, I too stuck a toothbrush up my butt, and I too gave birth to a little fish rabbit baby. This is the proof. How could they have known that this would happen?
We had so much fun.
Yeah,
fun.
this was really fun. Yeah.
hilarious. We wanted to share with you.
Well, I mean, it's like there's so many problems here. One, you have it's the idea that for several decades, starting in the 1970s, Muslims, one of their main two arguments was the scientific miracles. How could anyone have known this stuff? And you look at like what Muslims started doing in the 1970s was they would take a verse of the Quran or a little passage from the Hadith, put some spin on it, and say, you see this, and I'm saying this because this was the first argument I saw for Islam was in a pamphlet, and it was the Muhammadan Song of Solomon 5:16. But as far as like a Muslim actually sitting down and giving an argument, this was in prison, but the Imam there showed me a video, about an hour long, and it was on these scientific miracles of the Quran. And he was telling me before, and he's like, this is going to blow your mind when you see this stuff. And I would sit down, and like 5 minutes of the video would be describing how milk is produced inside a cow and stuff like this. And all of a sudden it would say, hey, and the Quran says cows make milk. And I was like, wait, what? What do you, how is anything that you just showed in these graphics actually in that Quran verse? So this happened over and over again. But I mean, so multiple problems here. One, that Muslims in the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s, up until very recently, were using scientific miracles by saying that what the Quran is saying is this. But if you look at how Muslims over the centuries understood these claims, they interpreted the things as meaning things that would be absolute nonsense right now. In other words, their interpretations were completely wrong scientifically. So how are they getting if the Quran is clear and the Hadiths are clear on this stuff, how are these guys all getting things this insanely wrong? So that's sort of one issue. But then you've got the issue of Muslims look back to these are the guys who are preserving Islam, and Muslims look back on all these people as authorities. And if these guys say something, it's as good as gold. And these guys are like the most ignorant people on the planet, on the basics. I would expect, I'm not even talking about now, I'm talking about, centuries ago, I would expect like a 12-year-old to know more about human reproduction than these Muslim scholars, the greatest scholars of Islam over the centuries. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a weird, crazy situation here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these are the scholars that Muslims, like you said, they put them on a pedestal. These are the ones that our religion stands on the back of. We stand on the back of these giants, these scholars. Like, these are the guys that they're talking about. These are like some of the biggest names. Like, you got
Ibn Kathir. You have the Quran itself, the backbone and the rib. Qurtubi.
Yeah.
I mean, Yasir Qadhi, he knows
all four schools of thought represented as well.
Yes, yeah. But Yasir Qadhi, he knows better. He knows that even though he wants to throw Sahih Muslim under the bus, he knows the backbone and the rib thing is in the Quran, and is he gonna throw that under the bus too? Plus, it's very dangerous what he said, because if we're gonna look at Sahih Muslim with a side eye, which is what he tried to do, you lose half of Islam, because a lot of it, of the sources that they need is Sahih Muslim, not just Sahih Bukhari. So it's a mess.
I don't know what's going on because I haven't been paying much attention to Yasser Qadhi for a little while. After the great holes in the narrative interview, it's got to be all downhill after that. Like, what more could he possibly do for the Ummah than destroying people's confidence in the Quran? But think about this. He crushed the argument from the perfect preservation of the Quran. Up until then, even though we've been blasting away at it for years, you still had the vast majority of Muslims believe in this perfect dot for dot, letter for letter preservation of the Quran. Until then, that's like the main turning point. You had a couple main turning points. You had Hatun at Speaker's Corner showing up with all the different Qurans and so on. This ultimately leads up to the holes in the narrative interview. But after that, it's all like it's been done. The argument has been destroyed. You still have Muslims who believe in it, but it's the end is nigh, right? It's still, it's just, okay, now the information is out there. It just has to filter down to your average Muslim, which that will still continue happening over a period of years. But anyway, so it's like, what could he possibly do after that? And now he's changing people's view of what the hadith are, and it's just the meaning, it's just the gist. And hey, we could toss out Sahih Muslim. He's probably going to get in trouble over this. He was already in trouble over the holes in the narrative interview, but he's going to run into some serious problems with other Muslims who aren't willing to toss this stuff aside.
Yeah, and speaking about that, that's pretty much his position on the Quran now as well. Like, like you mentioned, he's completely destroyed, or he's in one of the top destroyers of the perfect preservation myth. And so there's a book that just came out, and it's going to be universally published the beginning of next year, but it's been released in the UK. The publisher is in the UK, and we got a copy of it.
Yeah, actually, we got 2 copies.
We got 2 copies. They sent us 2 copies by mistake.
We only asked for 1. Whoever's running, they're going to run their business into the ground. They sent us 2, which is great, because 1 for me, 1 for Jai.
Nice.
And
we'll give 1 out to someone.
That way there will be no overlapping highlighting. I actually do that if I know that now we use Kindles and stuff, but back in the day, if I was getting a book and I knew me and my wife were both going to read it and we're both going to find things interesting and highlight, I'd actually get 2 copies because okay, I don't want your highlights interfering with my highlights.
Exactly. So there's a whole chapter in the book that he authored about the relationship between the Ahruf and
He's still harping on about it.
And he's like, this is the alternative theory. And so he calls the dictation model, like the word for word one that's been promoted forever, the one that he's, got his part in debunking. And so he presents 15 objections to that view. And so we're planning to do a series on that, going over each objection. But we started to kind of present some of the information in it so far. And he's basically making the same case. He's like, look, there's so many sources where you have companions who are just using synonyms here. And even Shabir Ali, this is his position as well. He actually said the same thing. He said that the early Muslims weren't concerned with word-for-word preservation. They were more concerned with the meanings. Like if Muhammad gave a command, what's the overall meaning? So it's like they say that for the Hadith and they say it for the Quran. It's like there's nothing special about that.
Yeah, you won't have anything left.
Yeah, what do you have left?
And this actually ties into what Sheikh Yasser Qadhi was saying in the holes in the narrative interview, but a much wider application of the idea. He's saying that when he was talking about, when you're starting off, you're at the beginning levels of knowledge, you just accept what your teachers say and so on. And then you get to a point and he was saying that Muslims have this red line, like you won't cross that red line and so on. He says, but the Western non-Muslim scholars, they don't have that red line. And so they'll tell you you're wrong. And he says, and they're right because they're quoting your own sources to you. It's a similar situation in that he knows the standard Muslim beliefs about the reliability of hadiths in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. He knows it doesn't work. Shabir Ali knows that method doesn't work. They both known that the Quran hasn't been perfectly preserved and so on. And it's like, and so they're recognizing that here's what Muslims have been saying for all these years, and here's what Muslim scholars have been telling Muslims. And these guys are realizing this doesn't work. And now Muslims are going to be exposed to the reality of these things. And so we can't keep clinging to these claims that we made in the past where your average Muslim was only going to be exposed to what Muslim scholars were saying. They weren't going to be exposed to what critics are saying. Now all of a sudden they're being exposed to what critics are saying, and they're saying, we have to change the foundations of Islam. The like foundational beliefs about the Quran and the Hadiths and everything else. We have to change all of that. And, you know, guess what? They're right. They're right that the Quran hasn't been perfectly preserved. They're right that non-Muslim scholars have valid criticisms of things that Muslim scholars say. They're right that these, I mean, you can read the hadiths and you'll see all sorts of different variations of the same hadith saying different things. You know that they can't all be right. You know that things are changing over time and that things are being embellished and that stories are mutating over time as they get passed around. And so Muslim scholars, they know this has to be the case, but they don't want it to look like Islam is established on shaky, unreliable ground. So they act like they have this airtight methodology all the time. It's this airtight method for preserving the Quran. It's this airtight method for preserving reliable hadiths and so on. And they know it's wrong, and they know Muslims are being exposed to this, so they're trying to change it. But I mean, it's just, Islam has no real foundations except for a bunch of things that Muslim scholars made up over time to make people feel good about their religion. And then you've got the Muslims like Shabir Ali and Yasser Qadhi. They're destroying those foundations and thinking we need to get on a correct foundation instead of a foundation of lies. But there is no other foundation. All you've got is a foundation of lies. And you guys they're helping take out the lies for us. But I mean, just think about this. I mean, you know, you go back just 10 years, it's taken for granted. Perfect preservation of the Quran. It's taken for granted among Muslims. Perfect preservation of the Quran. Muslims have the best historical methodology in the world. So much so that when anyone else does history differently, like Muslims will say, but what's the isnad? You don't have the isnad. Okay, great. No one did history like that. That's a made up thing. You guys made up that methodology, and then you try to apply it to people who don't have that methodology. And they're thinking they're the only ones with a reliable historical method. And now they're acknowledging, wait a minute, this historical method is actually a big mess. And so now we have to try and toss out the stupid mutations of hadiths and go with the more accurate ones. And they can't even defend the ones they're claiming are more accurate and so on. So anyway, the point is, I mean, now Muslims are going to realize the Quran's on much shakier ground. You ended up, I mean, with Uthman burning various Qurans and so on. And then even today, ending up with all these different Qurans. The Quran's on shaky ground. And then now you've got Yasser Qadhi admit, hey, we can't even fully trust like Sahih Muslim. Because the story's mutated over time and you can't trust all the stories. And so the Quran is on much shakier ground than Muslims realized, and the Hadith are on much shakier ground than Muslims realized. And so all of a sudden I mean, again, they're chipping away at the foundations of Muslim belief. If you can't fully trust the Quran and you can't fully trust the Hadith, what's your religion founded upon? And if all your scholars over all these centuries are saying this complete idiotic nonsense that any 7-year-old could refute today, how are you taking your religion so seriously that you want to go kill apostates and so on? It's insane.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better, really. It's
like a house of cards, you know?
No one can ever say to you scientific miracles in Islam again after all this.
Darn right, guys. And guys, what everyone who's watching, I just mentioned like a minute ago that the information is coming out. The information is coming out. And it started coming out by critics and stuff, making videos, writing articles and so on. And this caused enough Muslims to be bothered by things that they go to their scholars. So they're going to Shabir Ali, how can you explain this? Shabir, Yasser Qadhi, these guys are saying this. Ali Dawa, can you explain this? And this eventually forces them to respond. And for a while, they lie and make things up. But eventually enough people find out that these guys have to start admitting things. But guess what? Just because these guys admitted things doesn't mean that that information has filtered down to the average Muslim. That's where everyone who's watching comes in. That's why we're talking about taking screenshots and so on, learning this information. The information is out there. And guys, I bet pretty much everyone in the chat just saw all kinds of things about human reproduction in Islam that you never heard before. Guess what? Your average Muslim's never heard any of that before either. Your average Muslim has been told these scholars are as good as gold. These scholars are as good as gold. If your average Muslim heard, especially ones who are familiar with something about science, they saw this stuff, they'd be like, whoa, that's the guy I trust? That's the school I trust? What? These guys are morons. These guys had no clue what they're talking about. Why do I trust them? Why am I basing my life on these guys? So that's the work that needs to be done. That's why we talk about screenshotting. So definitely share this live stream, on wherever you can, but take screenshots, learn the information, and the arguments have been destroyed. It's just your average Muslim doesn't know that the arguments have been destroyed. And you still have Dawah guys on TikTok use the arguments from scientific miracles and perfect preservation and so on. So we still got work to do, but again, the end is nigh here for Islam using this stuff.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was just talking to a Muslim the other day on TikTok, and he just straight up told me there's only one Quran. It's the same thing from Muhammad's time, letter for letter, word for word. And I was like, a part of me was like, wait, people still believe that? And
where have
I just
you
got
been?
a little bit of
You've been living on the moon?
I just got a little bit of reality check. I'm like, whoa, that is actually still a very popular Muslim position. So I think sometimes we get used to, like, maybe the Dawah guys, like Speaker's Corner guys, and those types of people, and maybe they don't hold to these positions anymore. But your average Muslim, by and large, they still hold to these things. So continue to share the information, continue to spread the word.
But
Definitely. And take a couple super chats here, and then we'll close it out. Let's see. Sheikh Mike Wingeling says, Dawood claims he's incapable of fear, but I see he's early today to avoid being humiliated worse than Khyber Jews by losing his audience to Paul and Tyson. Yeah, so we got the fight. But you're wrong, Sheikh. I am going live again later on AP's channel. We're going to review the debate from earlier today on the Islamic dilemma between Sam and Khalil. So I haven't seen it yet, but you guys watched that, didn't you?
Yeah, I watched that. And Khalil, I have some history with that guy from like Clubhouse, and I know about him. He poses as like this unbiased academic, but I've caught him using like the same polemical arguments that we see from your average Dawah guy. I caught him trying to say Numbers 31 talks about, child marriage and child, graping and stuff like that. Which it doesn't. And so I called him out on it. I had a whole like hour-long discussion. And then when I recapped the discussion with him another time, he just completely lied about everything. And so I just started thinking to myself, okay, look, this guy's Harvard educated. Daniel Haqiqatjou is Harvard educated. That used to be like a respectable thing. But I'm like, after I kind of ran into these guys and a couple of other reasons about Harvard, I was like, that's not really, doesn't really have that same punch to it anymore.
He pretended, this Khalil dude, he pretended to know a Jewish professor or something in Harvard.
Yeah.
And he pretended...
He was like his TA or something.
Yeah, he pretended to know his position on Numbers 31. We went and checked with that professor. We emailed him.
And he's like, this guy doesn't... He's like, yeah, he was my TA for a little while, but he has no authority to speak on my behalf. That's not my position. Here's my position.
And he denied the things that were said.
Yeah. So anyway, he, the debate, he did very poorly.
Khalil did?
Yeah,
I was wondering because I don't know what his position is, but I recall from somewhere that he has a different view of what the Quran is. So I was thinking I don't know because I haven't seen it. And matter of fact, don't spoil it for me. But
okay, we won't spoil
it. If the only way he could even possibly be successful in that debate is if he gives some other interpretation of what the Quran is and what the Injil is and so on. if he doesn't, if he goes standard Dawa route, he's going to get I would guess he would be annihilated.
Yeah.
Because Sam is gonna be all over that stuff.
Yeah,
So
without
that's
telling
what I
you what
predict.
without telling you what he says, he presents multiple positions and basically says, my position is just one wall. But if you go through me, you have to go through this wall and then this wall. So he even knows that his wall or his defense is not rock solid, but he does think that some of the other Dawa moves are. But yeah, he did not do well. He did not fare well. But it's just because the nature of the topic, and, you're debating the Islamic dilemma. Like, this is not, it's just, kudos for, I guess, having the bravery to debate it. But, it is a one-sided debate.
And I have to say, I mean, we've seen Khalil when he debated Jake and just crushed him. So Khalil is very intelligent. He's a good speaker. He's very prepared. He's very knowledgeable. And so if he, in other words, if I were to say who could even possibly, because I know the Dawa guys can't. That's why they won't touch it. They all do the exact same thing. They'll say, you quoted all these verses about the Quran affirming the Bible, but here's a verse that talks about people misrepresenting things. So it says the Bible's been corrupted. Wait, that's not what their texts are saying. It's talking about people misrepresenting them and so on. But they all do that. And so that's a situation where you can deflect attention away from the problem real quickly and that will be enough for ignorant people who aren't paying attention. Oh, that's what the Quran says. But you never, ever, ever want to actually do a full debate on that, because you'd actually go into the passages and show what the Quran is actually saying. And that would destroy Islam. So the normal Dawa guys are not going to be able to, that's why they won't go near it. So if I were thinking who could possibly give some sort of meaningful response to the Islamic dilemma, Khalil would probably be my top pick for someone who could even possibly do it. And the point is, if the smart guy who has a different view and who in theory should be beyond and above the standard Dawa responses to the argument, if anyone could do it, it would be him. If he can't do it, I would have to say the end is nigh on this one too.
And what was really funny is that when he presented the topic on Paul Williams' podcast or YouTube, Blogging Theology, the initial response was, because he's like part of this like Shia sect that's not like the majority, like the 12, or he's like,
they're the Ismailis,
yeah. So because he's that type of Muslim.
Hey, side note, I actually like those guys way more, just for everyone who's watching. I like the Ismaili Shias way more than like Salafis and stuff. But yeah, go ahead.
They're fun. They're more fun.
Like their version of Islam is crazy. But like, I mean, he even said that like if his like his like they have like a living like caliph and stuff like that, and he's like, yeah, if he says one day that you don't have to fast, well, we don't have to fast. Like, he can basically just make up Islam. And anyway, but so he was on Blogging Theology giving a presentation on this topic, and they actually had this huge controversy about that. Paul Williams got all this backlash from the Salafi Muslims, and they got him to take it down at first, because they're like, look, we don't care, because he was presenting on this topic of like how to defeat the Islamic dilemma. So he thought that all Muslims would like want to benefit from it no matter what sect or background. But because Muslims, they have like this group think like, oh, he's not in our, they can't think outside of their group. Like, you can't be supporting this guy. He's Ismaili. He's a kafir. He's da-da-da. So he actually took it down. And there was a huge controversy. He was trying to get all the academics to talk on his behalf or to like boycott the show, and he ended up putting it back up. I think there was even some talk of suing or something. I don't know, but there was something talk like that. But so what I'm trying to say is that it's not what he says is not gonna catch on, just because Muslims are like, oh, he's Shia, he's Ismaili, like, so it won't catch on whatever he says. Unfortunately for him, but it's
all the Muslim apologists from minority sects of Islam are in an awkward position right now, because they're looking at the popular representatives of Islam, Ali Dawa and Muhammad Hijab and Sheikh Uthman and Daniel Hakikachu, and they're embarrassed by this. They're like, oh my goodness, please, people of the world, don't think that these guys represent Islam. So they want to give a different perspective on Islam. But I've noticed they're all in a similar boat. And it's one, we want to be we want to show people that there are better representatives of Islam, even though they're from minority groups that get blasted by Muslims. So one, they want to show that they're better, but two, they all seem to recognize what's popular, and it's all this chest thumping. So they're all kind of do that. They're all trying to do a bit of that too. And I see this from you know, from Shias, from Ismailis, from Ahmadis. They've all tried to dial up their chest thumping because they understand that's what works with the Ummah. And they're all trying to impress other Muslims as well, saying, hey, look, we're the ones who can defend against this stuff. We're the ones who can refute these guys. We're the ones who can defend the truth of Islam. And it's just not working. It's just not working very well, but it is fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked your suggestion the other day when you debated those Ahmadi guys, and you were like, "Hey, you guys want to put an open debate challenge? You should have debates with other Muslim groups on the gospel of truth." I thought that was a great idea. It'd be really interesting to see how they, because they do debate the Sunnis, but to have it on that kind of a platform, I think it'd be really interesting, and see how they do that chest pumping thing with each other too. See how that plays out.
Yeah, that would be fun stuff. But I mean, that's what I was actually. I mean, I'm thinking of stuff like that because I noticed that if you go back 10 years, all the Ahmadis I talked about were like the nicest, most respectful guys on the planet. Whereas now there's lots of mocking and stuff of things they disagree with and so on. So it seems they're all just adapting. Okay, this is what works in Islam. Me strong than you. And so they all have to like dial that up a bit. Even if they're trying to show that they're different from Ali Dawah, they still have to understand the reality that you'll just become completely insignificant. And we can, in other words, we see Dawah guys like Sajid, who tends not to act like that. Well, guess what? You get ignored. You either thump your chest or you get ignored nowadays in Islam. And so weird boat they're in.
By the way, real quick, just speaking about the Ahmadis real quick, I know that we have another super chat. I just wanted to just say this, that what's really funny is when you see them debating with it's like Sunnis, like Adnan Rashid, for example, when he debates with the Ahmadi Muslims, what he points out is like moral issues with Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. He's like, look at these immoral acts that he did, and he points out these.
Is that the standard? Because then we could throw out.
Yes. And so what they do back is, wait, don't you guys?
Muhammad said did it.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, wait, aren't you doing what the Christians do about Muhammad? And it's like, it's hilarious because that's exactly what they do. Like they have to go to the moral characters, the moral acts, and it's like, well, okay,
he used bad language.
That's the standard.
Women and
yeah. So it's really funny to see them debate because
how can you believe in this man? He acted like Muhammad.
He used a bad word. It's like, oh, okay, so Muhammad can't be like. They actually go to Muhammad using bad words to say, look, if that's your standard, then you can't say Muhammad. It's hilarious.
It is true, and the reason I would like to see more engagements, because lots of times if Ahmadis show up at Speaker's Corner, the Dawah guys will run from them just like they run from Christians now, and it's because they still want to keep their followers ignorant of the idea that there are challenges to their views or that there are alternatives or something. But the reason I'd like to see more of it is it's similar to it's a parallel to what you guys are just talking about, namely that like what Ahmadis do to reinterpret passages from the Quran and the Hadith to bring them in line with Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, and Muslims will recognize it. They'll recognize the problems with these reinterpretations when Ahmadis are doing it, but it's exactly what Muslims do with the Bible to reinterpret things and like say this is about Muhammad and so on. So it's basically, if you, as a Muslim, go to Song of Solomon 5:16 or Deuteronomy 18 or John 14, you say these things are about Muhammad, or any of the proofs that they would use from the Bible and have to twist the Bible to get them to agree with Islam. If you're a Muslim and you do this, which almost all Muslims do, it's just like you have no right to criticize the Ahmadis for the way they interpret things. You have no basis for doing it because they do the same thing with the Quran and the Hadith that Muslims do with the Bible. And so if you Muslims get to do this with the Bible, stop complaining about the Ahmadis and just recognize them as a true Islamic sect. Correct me if I'm wrong, but according to some Muslims, the Torah was corrupted after Momo. Does that mean that during the time of Isa, the Jews followed the Torah revealed by Allah and didn't know that Isa was the Messiah? You will have Muslims who think that the Torah was corrupted after Muhammad because the Muhammad clearly affirmed the Torah that existed during his time. And so if they want to say that the Torah doesn't line up with the Quran, they have to say it was corrupted afterwards. But that's just nonsense because we have copies of the Torah before the time of Muhammad. And so you can't say. You could talk about textual variants and things like that, but as far as like corruption, doesn't work.
No.
Let's see. My life has been a lie. I don't know what this is in reference to. Maybe the scientific
baby
stuff.
rat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like the temporal backbone and a rib.
The hood, you fool! You just proved Muhammad is a prophet with perfect sexual preservation who never got disease, even with the sexual encounters of 30 men. I'm not sure he never got a disease. I've seen some sources where I think he might have, and that might account for why he had so much trouble getting his wives. I mean, think about this. I mean, supposedly, according to the Muslim sources, Khadija's 40 when they get married, and then she has what? She has all these kids after the age of 40. And then Muhammad gets all these other wives, 9 or 11 at one time, can't get any of them pregnant except for his slave girl. It's like, what changed with him? Well, one possibility is got some sort of disease or something like that.
Yeah, and the woman that he's sleeping with, whether his wives or slaves or whatever, they're dripping this like yellow.
That's what
liquid.
I mean. That's what I wonder. Is like, is that a
Like,
is
I think
that
he's passing something around.
is that a symptom of a disease that he's spreading?
Yeah.
Yes, possibly. And infertility is one of the consequences of untreated sexually transmitted infections.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We should do some diagnoses in the future, like actually run stuff by a bunch of medical
that would be
professionals.
That would be hilarious.
Like we list all the symptoms. You can even do that with like like psychologists or something like this. Was this guy with an odd number of stones and stepping into the bathroom with the left foot first? Was this guy just like an obsessive compulsive? And
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we do have some videos on that.
Yeah, and I think Brother Rashid as well. He interviewed like what was it, like a neuroscientist or something?
Yeah, about
or...
temporal lobe epilepsy.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Muhammad had it. We also have a video.
Yeah, we
on
have a
that.
couple of videos. Yeah, but we would love to redo some of those or do some
Yeah, I would
more.
love that.
Yeah. Diagnose Muhammad.
have you guys seen some of these lib freak out TikTok compilations since Trump's win? It's good for less, but also good for some depression, realizing the state of this clown world. Yeah, seen people freaking out and so on. It reminds me of like people, you can have protesters presenting their ideas, but it's become this thing of like, we'll just run around like blocking traffic and annoying people as much as possible. It's like, guys, if you have a criticism, learn to share your criticism. You want to criticize, say Trump is bad or something like that, learn to formulate a coherent argument. If you want to say that Israel's doing something wrong, learn to share an argument and not just scream and whine all the time. But it's become a world where everyone screams and whines about their disagreements and hey, debate it.
Yep.
Now we're talking about the true jizya. Did Christians write about how babies are made and they were correct? Is it fair to judge what people thought if they're no longer believing this nonsense? What do you guys think about that? So the question here would be, wait a minute. So we're sitting there making fun of all these Muslim scholars, but haven't there been all kinds of Christians over the centuries who have been wrong about these things? You guys want to, I have my thoughts on that, but what do you guys think?
The Lord, well, in the Bible, He says, "I knew you before you were born. Knew you were in the womb." To be honest with you, if Islam is a really weird religion, in that it tries to guess how baby is made, whereas if it's really from God, you'd want to know about how God feels about this new creation, how precious is this new creation to God, that God knew from the beginning, things like that, rather than, oh, is it the rib, is it this rib, that rib, this backbone. That's my thinking on it. I don't go by Christians, I go by what the Bible says. Christians can get it right or wrong.
Yeah, and Mumu Joe, it's sort of a different scenario. One, Muslims were using this for decades now as proof that their religion is true. The proof of their religion is the amazing scientific accuracy. And then, pointing out that, wait a minute, if the amazing scientific accuracy and clarity of these passages about science, if that is correct, then we would expect Muslims to be getting things more correct than other people over the centuries. And we've just seen it's the opposite. They're getting things hopelessly wrong. So why is there book, which is the fount of scientific knowledge, according to the past several decades of Dawah, why are they getting things so hopelessly wrong if the Quran contains this miraculous scientific knowledge? So I would say if a Christian uses the same argument and says, how do we know that Christianity is true? Because of the amazing scientific accuracy of various claims of Jesus or something like that, then it would make sense to go to Christians over the centuries who got things completely, if they got things completely wrong, if that's the case. So that would be what we're not using that argument. It's similar to, what you just did is similar to when Muslims say the Quran's been perfectly preserved, and we say, look, there are textual variants here, and they go, but the Bible has textual variants. We're not the ones who made the argument. That's there.
Right.
If you're the one making the argument, you are the one. You have to defend your argument. If we're not making the argument, we don't. Then that's a different situation. So that's one issue. It's their argument. The other issue is, I don't know if you've noticed, Moo Joe, but Christians did things completely differently. In Islam, we still see this. What did we see when we went to Islam Q&A? They're still going, this scholar says 2 years. This scholar says 3 years. This scholar, and which is the best scholar? And then we'll decide whether it's 2 years, 3 years, 4. It doesn't occur to them to actually go to science to learn these things. It's all, we've been handed the knowledge, and now we have to figure out who was the best interpreter of the knowledge. The reason science took off in the Christian world is because Christians had a different view. They believe that the universe is created by God, that the universe is intelligible because it's created by this cosmic architect. So you can figure the universe can be understood, life can be understood, and they believe that human beings are the kind, we were made for this. We were made in the image of God, and we're the ones who can actually understand things that God has done. And the result was, okay, God has done things. We're the kinds of things that can understand it. Therefore, we need to go out into the world and figure out how God has done things. That's why you had the scientific revolution in Christianity. All the pioneers of the scientific revolution were Christians of one kind or another. You had Catholics, you had Protestants, you had some heretics. They all believed in God. They all believed in the Bible. And so you just had a different result in Christianity. So... no, I don't think it's, as far as your comment here, I don't think that it's fair to judge everything in the past by people's ignorance and so on. According to the argument that Muslims have made, it's totally fair because they're saying that Islam has produced all this scientific knowledge, and and what has it actually produced? It's produced the most scientifically backwards commentators ever with their claims. But they all present it with complete confidence, thumping their chest. You see, we got the correct view. Why? Because they believe that this came from Allah and Muhammad, the ultimate source of knowledge, and there's no check on that. They don't believe in going to science to check what Muhammad said. That's complete. That's a wrong methodology. So, totally fair to judge Islam by the arguments that Muslims are presenting for it. Right? If I say, hey, this is my argument, yes, it does make perfect sense to judge according to what you guys are saying.
The Bible would never say something as stupid as you're made from the backbone and the ribs. Just saying.
But what about the embryo? It's been proven. Actually, as a woman with PCOS, I could go years without a cycle, then emerge pregnant, but still, this is just next level BS.
But they said that you've been pregnant for years. With PCOS, you're not pregnant for years. You're still pregnant for 9 months.
Yes. So it doesn't help, Sarah. What you could say is there can be causes of confusion and uncertainty, right? Like, I don't know if someone doesn't have a menstrual cycle or something like this. I don't know if she's pregnant right now. There can be confusion and so on, but that's not what they're talking about, being pregnant for years and so on.
Yeah.
Let's see. David's guest. It's serious time to be serious, David. It's comedy time.
No, actually, we were.
It's comedy time for Jai and DOC as well.
Yeah, it was definitely all comedy time.
We've been laughing all day, even before this.
Hey, here you have. Oh, this is a good one from Sarah. Queers for Palestine. You see, men can get pregnant. Talking about the little rat fish rabbit baby.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's why
Muslims were pioneers.
Now it makes sense. You see, a man can get pregnant from a muswak of his butt. And Sir Dr. Whitemead says, D. Wood, in prison, did the muswak shank in your prison wallet ever turn into a rat? Nope, never got shanked. Prison will ever turn into a rat? No. Didn't happen.
Never happened.
Didn't happen. All right, guys. Let's see. All right. I guess we've been through those. We've addressed the topic. We've pointed out that people need to, guys, because the most important step in all of this is people taking material and then going out and sharing it with Muslims. So I just did a live stream. We just did a live stream. Me, Jai, DOC, just put the information here. Guess what? The vast majority of Muslims did not watch this live stream. The vast majority of Muslims are not going to watch this live stream later, which means the world is filled with Muslims who still do not know the information that we just presented. That comes down to people sharing the information. That comes down to screenshotting and so on, getting the sources, getting it out there, because there will be Muslims bothered by this. Why do I take the scholar so seriously when he has spouted things that I know from having a third grade education is completely wrong? Got to share that stuff with people. So lots of work to do, but it's all worth it. All right, guys, there's a link to Jai and DOC's channel. They're doing tons of research, and I don't know if you've noticed, but they're presenting lots of information that people still don't know about. I tend to over the years, like, I'll start off by presenting some information that most people don't know, but I'll just keep harping on the same thing, like Muhammad and Aisha. I'll keep saying the same thing over and over again until it becomes common knowledge. But there's still so much in the Muslim sources, like that. In other words, everything I've said over the years, it's like the tip of the iceberg as what's in the Muslim sources. And Jai and DOC are the ones actually going through the sources and the commentaries, looking up stuff that's available in Arabic but not available in English, translating it, sharing it. There's way more. If you think you've got an avalanche of apostasy over the past few years, imagine what would happen if all this information became common knowledge. It would absolutely destroy Dawah. So definitely check out Jai and DOC's channel. Subscribe to them because they do their own shows on their own channel. All right. Any final thoughts or advice for everyone?
Yeah. So, guys, as you see, that is biology. That is genetics according to Islam. And if you're a Muslim watching this, maybe there's one Muslim out of all 800 or so of you out there. And if you laughed at any of the things that we presented today or any things that were said today about Islam, just know that you laughed at Islam. So you can laugh your way out of Islam, and we hope that you do. We hope that you guys can see the errors of Islam in more than one ways. This is just, like David said, there's so many different angles you can approach this with and showing Islam as false. But this is just one approach that you can take. If you guys liked anything, feel free to screenshot, feel free to clip it, share it on your own channels, on your own platforms. And hopefully you guys, for the Christians out there or anyone else who wants to use information, we pray that, you guys will put it to good use and you're witness to Muslims. And so our hope and our prayer is for Muslims to leave Islam, laugh their way out of Islam, and to repent and to believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. That's our hope and our prayer. And as always, it's really fun to work with David, and we love you all. Thank you guys for having us. Thanks, David, for having us. And
Yeah, Jesus is Lord.
Amen.
Hey, you guys might want to write a book someday and call it "Laughing Your Way Out of Islam" or something like that. That'd be a good title for a book, or for a video. "Laughing Your Way Out of Islam" would be a good title for a video or something like that, and just go through the most hilarious stuff. One final comment here I wanted to answer. OJ says, "What day? Apologetics Roadshow. What made you convert? What was the main reason you converted?" I've already made a video about that. OJ, if you scroll through my videos, you can even look it up. I think it's titled something like "How God Destroyed My Atheism," but I take you through the whole story and exactly the reasons that I became a Christian. So you can check that out on my channel. All right, everyone. I'll be live again with AP in about an hour. Actually, a little more because AP's Turkish and habitually late. But we'll be checking out the debate from earlier today between Sam and Khalil. Thanks to Jai and DOC for joining us and sharing all this new information. A bunch of this was new information to me as well, and lots of fun stuff. So fun times ahead, everyone. Catch y'all later.